Challenging personal objections. Change is a fact of life, but it doesn't mean to say that we have to like it. And we can easily put up a resistance, put up barriers to protect ourselves from that painful change. And then there are those, of course, who say, but change is good for us. And in a way they're right, because eventually it makes us move on, it helps us develop ourselves, stretches us, and eventually when we've come to terms with this change, it will make us more resilient, adaptable, and help us to overcome future struggles. However, it still doesn't account for all of the personal objections, negative thoughts and feelings we're going through until we come out the other side and see the wood for the trees with a smile on our faces again. So why do we put up our defences and have personal objections? Well, because managing difficult or painful change is hard. And a lot of the time it's easier to put ourselves into victim mode and make everyone else accountable rather than delving deep into the dark and murky waters of your thoughts and feelings. Personal objections are things we tell ourselves to let us off the hook from taking responsibility and being accountable for change. And it's happening in our lives all of the time. And this protects us in the short term. But if we continue, we'll often find ourselves making excuses, finding legitimate reasons why we should adapt to this change. And in other words, putting ourselves into victim mode, learning how to live with something new, or just accepting that this is going to be our new normal, doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, patience, practice, and a lot of challenging conversations with yourself. You might hear yourself saying, why is this happening to me? Nothing ever goes right for me. I'll never get back to feeling normal again. I can't do this. The point is that nobody likes painful change because we have to take on board something we don't like. The perfect and extreme example of this is most recently the war between Israel and Hamas. All of those innocent people who are being affected, the uncertainty for them all includes, their family and their friends in other areas of the world as well. And it must be a constant agonising series of anxiety and stress for all of them. Do they flee as instructed, or do they stay? Both will have severe consequences that they will have to learn to cope with. Which is the right thing to do? I certainly don't know. If you're not living in the situation, you probably won't be able to answer that question either. People can go through agonising battles of change. Some will put up with something that they don't like because they are comfortable with the habit of their thoughts and their feelings, even though it might make them feel uncomfortable and unhappy. Having to adjust to change can feel even more terrifying than what they've got already. And having to adjust requires new levels of thinking processes, pushing out of your comfort zone until you start to feel comfortable again. Some will find it extremely hard and they will fall deeper and deeper into the depths of despair. Some realise that they have no choice but to adjust because there's no alternative to their life and living with change that has been thrust onto them. I was talking to a lady recently who had lost her daughter and her husband. As she talked, she explained that her daughter had died in traumatic circumstances. As parents, they had certainly struggled, but her husband had never recovered. They were challenged with a very different battle compared to those in the Israeli-Hamas war, but just as personal and just as painful. thankfully, this lady had dug deep and was able to see some kind of a future for herself that she could create, and was seeking help and advice around this. You see, small change is happening every day to all of us. Most of the time, we don't even notice it because we have the coping mechanisms in place for learning how to adapt and change. As we grow up and experience more and more situations, we develop transferable skills that we adapt as and when we need them. But when you're experiencing significant and painful change, it can be very, very hard to see outside of the darkness, and you may have to change whole aspects of your life. And this is when you really do have to dig deep and practice self-honesty and find the reasons to carry on, not letting your personal objections take over and getting in the way of finding your new normal. And these personal objections will pop up in all different forms: negative self-talk, excuses and reasons why you can't make a change, lapses and relapses in your progress. And along this journey of change, you will have disagreements with yourself and with others. And at times you will hate it. You will think it's too hard and wish it would just go away. You may even feel like running away so you don't have to face it. But we have to adjust so that we continue to live a life that will feel normal to us eventually. And this normal may be different from what you had before. It will take time to create, but you will find it with time, with patience and the willpower to allow the adjustment to happen. Because if you don't change, what will life be like for you and the important people around you? You may find yourself living a life of regret and resentment. But there is good news to having personal objections. You know, it's your body's way of trying to tell you something, but you have to listen to it, however painful it might be. And it takes a lot of soul searching. But with time, patience and practice, you can learn to understand yourself better. And here are 3 starting points for you. So the first point is listen. Listen to what your body and mind are telling you. Ask yourself the very important why question. Why am I thinking and feeling like this? Put your hand on your heart if you need to help you concentrate your mind, and shut your eyes to block out the interference. Why is this making me react in this way? Why am I resisting this change, and why am I finding it so difficult? Be honest with yourself. It may hurt emotionally, and you may feel ashamed and guilty for those thoughts and those feelings and reactions. Point 2. Acknowledge and accept whatever you are feeling is okay. They are thoughts and feelings and nothing more. I realise that they may have had consequences and may have consequences in the future, but if you start challenging them now, the sooner you're able to come to terms with them. Acknowledging them for what they are and accepting them for what they are. It's almost like a comprehension exercise you used to do at school. I am feeling sad and tearful and overwhelmed. Because of this, I am thinking that I am useless and I don't like myself. And if I ignore these feelings, they will go away. And so I am behaving as if I have to be in hyper control mode, and that I am the only one who can keep this family together and nobody else can do it right. Instead, I would like to think and feel happy again, more relaxed, more content, and like myself again. Point 3. Start taking action. With these new ways of thinking and feeling and reacting, you then need to start taking action to get to those new ways and those new habits. Remember, one small step at a time will get you there. Too big a step may not be beneficial in the long run. And unfortunately, this is where a new set of personal objections can come along and get in the way, because it's rather like a cycle of thoughts that you need to break away from. Why is this happening to me? Nothing ever goes right for me. I will never get back on track and back to normal. I can't do this. It's too hard. It's easier just to stay the way I am. Breaking away from those negative thoughts and feelings and those personal objections will alter the flow of your direction, but you may have to go back over those points time and time again and challenge those personal objections so that you can continue your journey through the process and come out the other side successfully. But please don't give up. You will get there, and the easier option is not necessarily the best option. And before I go, remember, you're not alone, however difficult life might be feeling for you at the moment. So subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share this with somebody else who might find it useful. Thank you for listening. I am Kath Lloyd, helping families to end sadness and restore happiness in their life.